Good evening, everyone. This is Mike Chi here to give you guys an update on the RetroTINK-2X line doubler. For my, if you remember from my last video, I was having some problems where the image output was shaking vertically. It was very annoying. Thankfully, I was able to figure out that problem. Did a bunch of hacks and revisions to the firmware. Everything is nice and stable now. For this test, I've got my board hooked up to my Raspberry Pi. Again, I use my Raspberry Pi because it's I can run all sorts of different programs such as 240p test suite, even though it does seem kind of silly to go from the Raspberry Pi to component video, double it to HDMI, but Raspberry Pi is a good stand-in while I'm working on getting some real systems. The output of this board now connects to a HDMI to VGA adapter. Now, this is just a simple HDMI to VGA adapter. All I'm using it for is basically a D to A converter. There's no scaling or processing in this dongle, so there's no additional lag. This is all outputting to my Apple 21-inch CRT, what I call my poor man's BVM. I have been having a lot of trouble trying to find a nice BVM, so this is the closest thing I have to a high TV line CRT monitor. On the side here, I have this little 9-inch Sony Trinitron TV. I was too lazy to haul my PVM up here, but this works too. Got them both feeding, getting images to my Raspberry Pi, so I can do some lag tests, which I'll show you guys right now. Here we are. And this is looking pretty good. If you do a freeze frame, you'll see that there's pretty much no lag between the two screens. If you do look really closely, you'll probably see that the upscaled image is trailing by a few scan lines versus the output directly going to the 9-inch screen. And that's exactly to be expected because a line doubler does buffer a few scan lines for the interpolation to smooth out the image. But I think that's okay. For all intents and purposes, this is pretty much lag-free. I think in practice, if you would hooked us up to an LCD through HDMI, you'll probably get a couple of more milliseconds of lag through the display circuitry, which you saw in my other video. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the results. It's looking very good. Okay, so the lag was pretty well controlled. Now let me try to give you guys an idea of the image quality. So this is line doubled. It's pretty nice. It's pretty clear, sharp. The image has quite a little bit of a different aesthetic to it. If you look at it carefully, because the line doubler does both horizontal and vertical smoothing, the output is actually reminiscent of an emulator with some sort of image scale filter, such as high quality 2X. It takes the raw pixelated image and really tries to smooth it out. To me, I personally prefer this aesthetic over something that's really blocky. I think it's a little bit easier to my eyes. I'm sure other people have different preferences. Once I get the scanline generation up, I think the output will be a bit closer to what you might expect from a regular CRT, 15 kilohertz CRT. For that, I'm going to have to do a board revision. Unfortunately, I won't be able to hack the scanline generation on this version, but now that I know how all the chips work and I can mess with the settings, I should be able to have that figured out and spin a new board, and we'll keep you guys updated. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys found this entertaining. P.S. Just wanted to give you guys a better sense of the image quality. I'll play a few different games. Here I'm playing Marvel vs. Capcom. Not very good. This is just for shits and giggles. The image looks pretty good on these more graphically complex games because the scaling, I think, fits well with this. I think I'm pretty happy with this Apple CRT. It's a very nice high resolution. Got it picked it up for cheap, only 25 bucks. It was pretty much brand new in box. The owner hadn't used it. Still really annoyed about trying to find a decent BVM, so that's why I'm building this the RetroTINK-2X. Once I get the component, composite, and S-video inputs going, this is pretty much the poor man's BVM. And just for grins, you guys can take a look at the image output from my 9-inch Sony. This one I picked up for I think 10 bucks at an estate sale. It's not very good. I was gonna RGB mod it, but then I realized it was a waste of time because the tube was so small. Here, I'll play something a bit more simple, maybe a Nintendo game. That way you guys get an idea of what the image looks like on some really simple graphics. I'll do Castlevania. That's kind of a mainstay. You know, once I get a real Nintendo going, I think I'd like to actually hook up the composite output to this board. This thing does have a composite input with a 5-line digital comb filter, and give you guys an idea of what the image quality looks like there. Obviously, this isn't quite authentic because it's coming from the Raspberry Pi, which is generating the graphics in RGB color space. But overall, the image is pretty good. On these simpler graphics, you can really see the filtering that's the scan doubler is doing to smooth out the graphics. Again, probably some of you will like this. Some of you will probably prefer the blockier look. Still looking forward to getting that scanline generator going and seeing how that looks. Probably should look quite a bit closer to the real deal. But if you guys prefer the more processed look, I think this is a pretty good choice. Okay, now I'll play Puzzle. No, this isn't Puzzle Bobble. This is Magical Drop 2. Personally, I hate this game. My wife likes it. She plays it all the time. Just playing it for grins. I'm really bad at puzzle games. Anyways, looks pretty good. You know, the only thing that I wish this Apple CRT would do better is if it could get brighter. It's got brightness and contrast controls, but I think to adjust pretty much everything else, you actually need to connect this up to USB and do that on the computer. Unfortunately, the monitor control app I think runs in OS 9, and there's really no way to adjust it, so we're just kind of hoping that it works out of the box, which so far, I mean, it's pretty good. Again, brighter would be better. Anyways, that's enough rambling for now. Hope you guys like this video, and we'll talk to you later.